Witaj w podcastu Atletyczni, gdzie pokażę Ci, jak myślą oraz pracują profesjonaliści ze świata przygotowania motorycznego i fizjoterapii. Zobaczysz tu codzienność zawodowego sportu wraz z jej problemami oraz rozwiązaniami w teorii i w praktyce. Ja nazywam się Bartek Szczygieł i pomagam zawodnikom oraz trenerom odnaleźć się w realiach przygotowania fizycznego, pokazując z moimi gośćmi mnogość dróg i możliwości pracy. Zapraszam do odsłuchania. Kim jest mój dzisiejszy gość? To specjalista praktykujący wykorzystanie platform dynamometrycznych w rozwoju fizycznym siatkarzy. Obecnie jest w trakcie studiów magisterskich w Irlandii związanych z przygotowaniem motorycznym. Jego doświadczenie pokrywa pracę 1 na 1 z siatkarzami, pracę w klubie oraz samemu bycie zawodnikiem. Na chwilę obecną możecie go spotkać w poznańskim Bodywork. Przed mikrofonem Daniel Barbosa. Z tej rozmowy uzyskasz praktyczne spojrzenie na tematy profilowania wyskoku, typów fizycznych zawodników, czy w siatkówce jest miejsce na trening plyometryczny oraz jakie strategie treningu obierać przy rozbieżnych charakterach motorycznych zawodników. Zapraszam do odsłuchania. Welcome everybody to the first and probably only English episode of the Projekt Atletyczny podcast. Today I have my really special guest that I was waiting for a long time to see and talk, Daniel Barbosa. Welcome, Daniel.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello everyone. So let's do it.
So we got something to talk about regarding the volleyball testing, first place testing, some jumping science that I think me and Daniel talk about a lot and see these things very, very similar. But first of all, my question is, Daniel, because some of the people may not know it, you have a BSc in the sports science. So I want to ask you, where did you attend your BSc and what was your subject of studying? How did you end up getting there?
Yes, so I get into the university and sports science and physical education in Brazil, Paraná State, in 2007. Was 5 years course because in Brazil we have this possibility to do the graduation for sports science, but as well for physical education to be like a PE teacher and the school, something like that.
So both at once?
Both at once. You do a couple of the disciplines, couple of the subjects in one semester for one of the course. In the other semester, you have some more emphasis in the other one, and in the last 2 years, you need to decide which type of area you wanna dig the most. Yeah. So at that time I choose, of course, the sports more correlated to sport performance, and the topic of my, like, let's say the thesis, the last work at the graduation was coincidentally about jump. We were trying to look some correlation between the fatigue to the neuromuscular capacity to the jump, correlating this metric, this result with I forgot now in English is creatine kinase. Yeah, I think in English is
like the marker,
the damage, the muscle damage maker. Yeah, so basically we was doing that with futsal players, doing some jump tests with them with chrono jump. And they did a couple of blood tests as well with doctors, and we put that on the paper, and we were tracking them through a couple of weeks, like 12 weeks as I remember.
So you got previous background in jumping before selecting your subject of the BSc?
So before that, I was a volleyball player, so I always enjoyed this topic.
Professional? Same professional?
I played like second division in Brazil until my 18, 19s. I was quite good.
What was the highest vertical from approach?
Yeah, with approach, my best one was 3 meters and 40 centimeters. I could reach. So let's see.
You're a bit higher than me.
Probably less than 80 centimeters. I'm not a jumper at all.
You're a technical player.
I was really quite fast, quite explosive.
And you played
but
opposite?
Not the opposite. Left-handed, so There's a lot of fast balls to behind the setter for me. I really loved that at that time. But I never was the guy hitting the ball over the block and nothing like that. It was like just using the elbow of the other guys, hitting
the screw.
Exactly,
So you finished your BSc, but your education didn't end here. You are now in process of getting your Masters of Science at the Setanta College. Can you elaborate a bit on that one? How did you end up applying for the Setanta?
Exactly. This.
What was your thought of process of why did you choose this?
To be honest, because I'm gonna do like a fast flashback on my life. In 2015, I still live in Brazil, and I was doing like a master in health promotion because I changed my professional goals when I get out from my university, when I finished the university. And I was more focused about health promotion, rehabilitation, some like a metabolic syndrome. It's completely different topic than I'm working the last couple of years. So I was doing this master, and when I finished the first year of this master, I got one offer to do one PhD, one doctorate in Portugal, in Lisbon.
Right.
And it was exactly in the same moment my family applied for the Portuguese citizenship, because my grandma, is a Portuguese, she's Portuguese. Right. And my dad started this process and appeared this opportunity to go to Lisbon and to do this doctorate. And I think, okay, this is a good opportunity to leave my country. I never lived abroad before that, and okay.
Really?
So, yeah, it was my first time.
Oh my!
I just went abroad to Brazil twice, to Bolivia and Paraguay. It's pretty close to the border, It's nothing like okay.
It's like Czechoslovakia for Polish people.
Exactly. You can go by car, It's not like I went to abroad. No, it's just come on.
Okay, so, but you were working in Portugal at the time of doing the PhD.
In the beginning, I was just doing the studies, and I have some private clients, like a personal trainer, regular personal trainer, and giving some beach volleyball trainings at the beach.
All right.
So this was the best job ever.
Okay.
I could stay on the beach, give some trainings, and nice weather. It was pretty cool.
Perfect.
The money wasn't good, but it was a lot of fun. And but after 2 years and a half, because I was doing this PhD and working in one research lab in Lisbon University, and after 2 years and a half working there, I had some issues, health issues at that time. So I stopped. I need to stop that because my health is not handled. So I quit, and I got one offer like 1 month after to work with volleyball, to work with volleyball in Portugal, in one young team in one city pretty close to Lisbon. And also I started to talk with the volleyball coach from Benfica, Sport Club Benfica.
The football Benfica.
Exactly, but they have like a professional volleyball team.
Right.
At that time, they was even playing. They still playing like the Champions League, European Champions League. And that coach is a Brazilian. And we had some friends in common, and I texted him asking if they have some opportunity for a job there. And I met
as a strength and conditioning coach.
Not a strength and conditioning, because they already have like a lot of people in the club doing this type of job, but they need like assistant coach at the court,
like technical.
hit ball, technical help, And I went there, did a couple of trainings helping them, and they we want you here. So, and I started to work with them. Work for 1 year, 1 season, and coronavirus came, and I came to Poland. It was 2020, in May 2020, to stay a couple of weeks with my wife. Now my wife was my girlfriend at that time, and after a couple of weeks, we decided to stay together, to live together, and I called to Lisbon, and I quit my 2 jobs I had there at that time, and the volleyball teams.
So your volleyball background started as a same professional player, and I came all the way through being a kind of assistant coach.
Exactly.
So were there any point of times that you work as a strength and conditioning coach in the team sport of volleyball?
Yes, in Brazil, when I finished my university, I was, as I said in the beginning, I was most focused about health promotion, this profile of clients as a personal trainer, because I was basically giving personal training classes. But I also was working with one young volleyball team in my city, but like a small club. They was playing like a regional competition. They played one national once as a strength and condition, but was That time was my only experience, and but in Portugal, after I started to cooperate with the young teams and other amateur clubs as a strength and conditioning.
Do you miss the teamwork?
Yeah, this is nice. The environment is really cool. I miss that. I love to play. I still playing as amateur. I love to work with people. Not I like of course individual sports, but to cooperate with people, it's pretty challenge. Yeah, it's not easy.
It's totally
but
different environment and the set of rules that you have to put up yourself with to get the work done.
Yes, and we need to learn a lot. Sometimes put our egos or beliefs aside.
There's no room for ego in the team sport. Really, I would say it's really. I can't compare the difficulties of individual work versus the teamwork because these are two totally different environments. And I think with the teamwork you get to deal with the compromises every single day. You rarely get the job done the way that you want it. Your planning goes to the trash bin almost every day, and you got to remodel everything just for the sake of the players, their daily disposition, their belief system, as we talked before the podcast, and this belief system really is kind of annoying. You gotta respect that. it will always be there. It's not something that is bad. You have to understand. It's like with our parents, the previous generation,
Exactly.
You got to respect that. So
the culture of the club and the culture of if you're gonna work. When I was working in Portugal, for example, we speak the same language. We have like some kind of similarities about behave and everything, but we are different. So it was quite a challenge also for me to understand which kind of approach I should use with them. Of course. We need to think about that. And it's also a process about education, learning, and
sometimes it's more of a psychological challenge than the strength and conditioning programming. It's really simple, but how do you fit that into a microcycle? How do you deal with the guys in the everyday day-to-day work? How do you deal with the technical coach and his different thoughts about certain topics? I don't know how it is in Brazil, the strength and conditioning in volleyball in Poland really maybe first came across in like 12 to 15 years. It started to came along from the abroad and just started shaping. And now the shape that it's already possessing to this day, I think it's really good and professional and from the strength and conditioning coaches side, not necessarily from all of the players. The younger players are already taught the way that they should work, that they know why they are doing it, why they should do it, how do it, but the older players and their belief system, how they used to work 20 years ago. So I managed to get this far. Why should I change anything? So I ain't gonna do this shit that you tell me to do. I got my own work system. You're not even welcome here. So
we were talking about that before the podcast. It's hard topic. It's a hot topic, but I understand because if I'm a player, I'm professional, and I have succeed in my career.
It means that I'm doing something good, right?
Exactly, yeah. And of course we know we cannot attribute the success of your performance whatever just because of the strength and condition plan we are doing the last couple of years. We know have other stuffs correlated about performance, yeah?
Of course.
But I think again, sport teams, you need to understand the profile of the athlete you are working and to know them as a person, not just about the physical qualities they have, and respect them at that point. And I don't think you need to not push. Maybe I'm gonna say some not a right word now, but when you're thinking about to design a training plan for sport club and sport teams, and someone have the one step back about to accept or not what you want to develop with them, I think you always have a possibility to do something from a different way to achieve the same goal. You know what I mean? So I usually try to work in one way. I have my plan, I have my idea, my beliefs, and the knowledge I have through the experience and academic life I had, but I need to be open-minded to adjust this organization and my thoughts based on the context I'm working. Yeah, so we need to do that. Yeah?
So you basically have to learn how to first of all engage the player in a given exercise, and so you got set of exercises that can lead to the same goal, but not every way would be proper for that player for any possible reason that you can think of, and you just got to find the proper way to buy his trust and buy his engagement. If you got that, you won all of the game.
For sure, I think this trust, to build this trust, this bond between the coach and the athlete, this is one of the most important things.
Being human.
Because because if they for some reason don't like you, don't trust you, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, you are done. You are completely done. Yeah. So we need to build that. Yeah?
I've been victimized by that a few times. Everybody has to. It's an experience that you can't read, that you can't get in any sort of way other than just working in team sport. So. Coming fluently to the strength and conditioning aspects, you worked with the youth teams as well as the major players. If you could, if you could name some things that from your experience, from your years of work, stand for the most important strength and conditioning aspects for the youth players at first.
Okay, with young players, especially for sport teams. Yeah, of course we know some like individual sports, they usually depend of the sport, of course, they're really more specialized in a couple of type of skills than sport teams, because you have more variety of movement and unpredictable situations. So especially for sport team athletes, young, I like to develop general conditioning about motricity, about coordination, about be able to do something by themselves, you know what I mean? Where in this environment they need to perform some sort of movements without I give all of the information to them to solve the task. I think this is really important for, especially because if you work with someone with 13, 14, 12 years old, something like that, you're not sure if this person is going to be a professional athlete. Most of them, they're not going to be. Just a couple of percent of these young athletes going to be top level or professional. So the most important thing is to put their body to move, to develop all of the capacities, especially optimum skills for each phase of the growth development. I think this is really important. So some ages is more sensitive for speed, some ages more sensitive for strength, something like that. So I believe in that, and we have a good scientific background about that. And I believe this is our main goal. I know in some sport teams the coaches, they are much more focused about to reach the trophy, to win tournaments. Yeah, of course they want that because it's their job. Yeah, it's also important. Also the kids, they are looking for that, most of them, in a good level of young athletes. But I don't believe this is should be the main goal, you know. Especially for some sports, even like we talk about volleyball. If you take a look at numbers of like average of the age of the volleyball players, they reach the high performance level, achieve the best result in their career. Is usually above 25, 26, 27 years old. Yeah, so
kind of late.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you know, so why I'm gonna 15 years old, I'm gonna get crazy about to start to do some stuffs. Maybe it's not the right moment to do, you know. But so they have a time. Yeah, but of course you need to try to develop everything is possible to develop during this time. But a general conditioning, develop strength, develop power, develop speed, learn how to move their body in different type of contexts. I think I don't like too much overcomplication. You know, I think consistency and a good progression, a logical progression about the training, and a good variation of the stimulus is important. Yeah?
So what I consider the main flaw in youth volleyball training system in Poland is that the young guys basically do nothing more than just training volleyball. If you come to it's called, the Polish people will be know, SOS, siatkarskie ośrodki szkolne, like school volleyball stuff.
Okay.
You begin that usually at the age of 13, and you can get through SOS to the point of being 16 years old, I think. Then you are considered as a senior player, more or less.
Spawa, yeah, they have in Spawa there.
Yeah, but this is like the private school, and most of the Spawa players are closely related to the national teams, youth national teams. Not all of them, but most.
Okay.
So during this stage of 13 to 16 years old, they basically do nothing more in these school programs than just playing volleyball. There's almost no strength training, and if there's
but even out of the gym, like some conditioning sessions.
Some academies, of course, there are some volleyball academies with youth teams that are very conscious about that and have strength conditioning coaches that take care of these things really good and really professional. But some of the minor schools that are in the same program, but they are not the academies that win the trophies, that are in the 1-8, 1-4, the semi-finals for the for titles. Most of them don't get any strength and conditioning coach, and the main technical coaches don't possess the necessary knowledge to plan any simple, effective form of strength training. Most of them attend the gym by themselves, doing whatever they want, however they want, and there's a big inconsistency in working in anything outside of the volleyball. The young players also, I think that they don't like to do anything athletic related, some football stuff, some basketball stuff, some track and field stuff, and the volleyball is a safe place to be for them. Anything outside of the volleyball court, any non-specific movement and any form of straight training that they don't get, they didn't learn before, is kind of unsafe to be. And there comes a point when the guy is 17, 18 years old, he got through few injuries, he's playing with the ankle braces, he's playing with knee braces at the age of 18, and he got to the senior team, and now his physical capacity isn't developed well enough. He can't handle 3 sets at the senior level, and it's a problem because he's underdeveloped from 5 years before.
Of course, yeah.
And I don't mean specifically developed, because the guys at this point in their lives have really good technical skills. They are really good volleyball players. They are really big athletes at all, general. They are not physically well prepared to do anything basically.
But I think it's 2 problems there in this situation, because if they develop better their athletic capacity, they can even be better professional. They can be, and also
stay healthy, play for longer.
Exactly, because this person is not going to be a volleyball athlete forever. Like 35, 37, something like that. They're going to stop, and they need to keep their life. They need to, know how to do exercise. They need to get, feel good performing exercise and understand how this can be important for their life. Stop the career and cannot to do nothing else. And we have some issues about that as well in Brazil. It's mostly in football environment is really popular because I don't know in Poland, but
it's popular, but it is professionalized in any way of taking care of the players' health, players' physical capacities.
Yeah, but they when they stop to play, they stop to do everything because they just play football during the whole life. You know what I mean? So it's a public health problem, because we have a lot of pro athletes in different type of sports, but many of them they have a really bad condition of health. So it's. They wasn't educated to perform another type of exercise, just their own sport, because they got specialized really early.
What you mean.
Know what I mean?
So when we got the youth team volleyball covered, can you elaborate on some most important SNC aspects in your mind with the major players, like semi-professional, professional volleyball players?
Can you repeat? Sorry, I didn't get it.
Most important necessary aspects for the major volleyball players.
Okay, for major, professional one.
Yeah. Same professional,
Okay.
just the major guys.
Okay. Of course, we need to analyze each case. We can have like a big difference about profiling, about general conditioning, but for volleyball is a pure anaerobic sport. Yeah, so all of them need to have a good level of power, a good level of strength. They need to be able to handle forces, especially in the lower limb and hips and lower back, single leg, both legs, and be able to react fast on the ground to do the next task, to change the direction, to step back and be able to receive the set, for example, and of course a good capacity to be resilient about this effort and low level of fatigue in a neuromuscular perspective, because if they get like 5 sets in front of them, they need to be able to, they will fatigue, most of them, it's okay, but they need to have a low index of fatigue in the neuromuscular performance. I think this is one of the most important things. Of course, upper body is pretty important, about to have a good mobility, trunk, shoulder, to be explosive, to be many possibilities about to hit the ball and
movement options for attack.
Exactly. They have some guys. They are not so tall, they are not so strong, but they can do crazy stuff with the upper body trunk and be able to go away from the blocks and.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So can you relate somehow to the thing I will say in a moment that most of the, I don't talk about you, but the most of the major professional volleyball players weren't exposed ever in their lives to really solid high intensity strength training. What I mean, the isometric for some guys, it just I'm gonna hold this shit for 20 seconds and just drop it, and it doesn't affect me too much. For the eccentric, I just gonna do 6 seconds submaximal eccentric tempo back squat for a few years and come back up. So there's a really big physical capacity reserve in terms of eccentric and isometric contractions that these guys at the age of 25 to 30 to 35 haven't really get a chance to meet this reserve. Can you relate in any way to this statement?
No, this is an interesting topic because I think of course,
some of them are lazy. That's just the way it is.
Of course, This is the point. This is to work with athletes, especially sport teams, because you cannot to be 100% of the training session monitoring everything they are doing. So sometimes it's hard to control the proper training load, the proper amount of effort they need to perform. So, but I think that the most important thing is we were talking about in the beginning, to create this trust, to create bonding. To they believe in a job, they buy your idea and to do everything they need to do. And but to do the educational process. I know some. I was an athlete and I had some strength and condition coaches, and they were good. But they were really good about to programming and prescribing. But to educate, especially young professional volleyball players, I think they have some lack of capacity. So we follow the plan. But if I show the plan for you, you're also a strength and condition coach, you're going to understand exactly everything you need to do there. And if I put like, I don't know, some RPE information, percent of the load, you're going to go until the effort we should go in this training session, because you know this is important, it's like that need to do. But doesn't mean one athlete who don't have no background about sports science, just in their sport, they probably is not going to, depend of the profile of the athlete. Some guys we need to even tell them, hey dude, take it easy. We don't need to go so far away. But it's an educational process to explain, to have some meetings, even theoretical meetings, just not about exercise. But I know some clubs they do that. Of course, the time is quite time consuming. Some clubs and athletes they don't have a viability for that. But I think it's possible and can be. You're gonna spend some time, energy in the beginning, but once they learn exactly what they need to do and what they need to do in each type of exercise,
and how you can help them. Why can be beneficial for them?
Can be beneficial because I can design the best training program if you don't do exactly in this type of zone or intensity, amount of reps, whatever, and all of the factors, the variables of the training plan, probably you're not gonna get everything you could get from this.
That's the point.
So I think that education is key. Education is the gold stuff, and I know sometimes we spend a lot of time try to see which kind of exercise the best and for this, but this connection, this teaching process, because we are like a teacher, we cannot forget about that,
So I think that the best method in team sport is the method that is consistent and repeatable in some training sessions. That just give me adherence in any way from the players. So even though there exists a big gap between this reserve in physical capacities, and sometimes it's hard to push the player to really express this high intensity in even simple strength training method, we should try to educate. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail in education. Not everybody will be a great friend of you when it comes to the work, but you did your best to try.
Oh, definitely.
Another hot topic that I get asked quite often: is there a season for plyometric training in volleyball periodization? So, for simplicity, we can take the professional club, professional player that he's playing. For example, in Plus Liga, he got like usually 1 match a week, sometimes 2 match, and his pre-season lasts for about 8 to 9 weeks. He's not old, but he's also not young, like the typical professional volleyball player. How do you relate to that topic? Is there a place for plyometric training in volleyball periodization?
So I truly believe have a space, and I think of course, not just about I think, but we need to consider the age process of each one of these athletes. The demands of effort each one of these athletes are being covered through the week. Because some depend of the position, depend of the amount of sets you play, you're gonna be exposed to more stress than other players. So I really like one approach with I'm gonna make some bridge from football. And, they do some type of periodization where I know also some guys in Brazil are doing for volleyball team players, where they, and coincidentally recently I saw one professional in Poland counting the jumps with Vert and posting some stuff. I forgot his name to be honest. But if I know how much, for example, let's take jumps as a variable of effort demand, how much jumps my player are doing during the match. I have this data through the season, for example, and also if I can measure that during the week, during all of the sessions, I have some idea about the amount of energy, demands and effort these athletes passing through during the whole microcycle, and of course we were talking about also like use like a force plate, something like that, to measure the neuromuscular fatigue. And if you have some data to inform you and the coach, if my athlete, after this amount of effort he performed during this microcycle, he is dropping his capacity, he's getting more tired, something like that. Like you can use like RSI as a metric to see fatigue, for example. This can give you some idea to you if maybe this week, this microcycle, this athlete, I don't need to produce even more stress. For example, a simple plyometric training plan. But the athlete, I can see it through this data, he is showing me he's not getting tired, he's not fatigued, maybe because he's playing less than the other athlete, maybe because he's young, maybe because he have a better conditioning, whatever. Maybe it's a good opportunity to apply, to put some load during this microcycle as a plyometric, but other type of stimulus as well, because if you spend too much time without apply some type of stimulus, the tendency is you start to reduce your capacity to handle that. Yeah? So I think the monitoring is pretty important in this process, because we can see through this each microcycle, each week, basically the weeks, if my athlete should do something more or less, you know what I mean? So, but of course have a space. I think the plyometric is like it's like a runner, and we ask if have a space to run during the microcycle for a runner, you know.
It's so
it's
should be obvious.
Should be obvious, yeah. But it's I know some people get scared about to produce even more stress, and I understand. But exercise is like that. If you need to control the dose, the amount of effort. If you apply some raisable dose and good appropriate rests, they have a good nutrition, good all of the stuffs can help them to keep.
I think like just taking away just sake of logical arguments behind doing the plyometrics in season. I think the microdosing maybe once, maybe twice a week in season, in the ideal world, when the player would believe that would help them, like in one exercise in 2 sets, in 3 to 4 repetitions. It doesn't really get anywhere near fatiguing. But at the other spectrum, if the microdosing doesn't get you that much fatiguing, does it really give you any kind of adaptation? There's this misconception.
This is the point, of course. But the thing is,
you want to maintain, you want to adapt.
Yeah, I think during the season it can be a bit risky after to try to create some adaptation, because to create this adaptation you need to, let's see, to damage a little bit.
Yeah, here's the point. If you you want to maintain a plyometric, I think what I mean by that is, do you want to maintain the plyometric efficiency, like the task specificity of drop jump, of hop test, or anything like that? You have to do the actual task. But does any kind of plyometric exercise give you the stimulus that can change something while you already do 100 upper jumps each session for 3 or 4 days in a row? I don't really think so. Maybe if you do much less upper jumps, then you got this balance between the two stimulus. It's not 100% and 0%. It's more balance. Maybe when it would be more balance between the stimulus, it would be more appropriate. But risking additional stress during in-season is definitely not worth it. But I think during the pre-season, the plyometrics should be exposed and progressed every single week in the pre-season to the start of the season. But I know that some clubs, some guys are even a bit afraid of that, and this all comes down to the belief system, not anything else, just the belief system, and the players being afraid of taking any kind of jump outside of the volleyball court. They believe they can get hurt from that, just as we talked before.
Yeah, but it is.
It's not kind of logical.
No. That doesn't. Yeah, it's definitely not. I understand. Many of people believe on that. They're really good professionals and they have results. They win tournaments, everything. But the guys they need to handle force. They need to be able to handle this force 100 of times per match. Yeah. And be able to recover it quite fast, because sometimes no, they need to the day after, 2 days after, train again, and again. Sometimes they have 2 matches. If a top team, they have 2 matches during the week, playing some European tournament. If the player is a top level in the world, they still have like a competitions for national team, something like that.
To recover.
So they need to be able to handle that force. So the best way to be able to handle something in an effort and a physical perspective is to pass through that during the training process. You need to do it, of course. And we have, because talking about that, I remember one case when I was in Benfica in Lisbon. We had one Brazilian volleyball player. He was until 2012 from the national team, and at that time he was already, I think, 37 years old. And we were 3 weeks before the finals. And the club, he had some injuries, many chronic injuries, knee, shoulder. He was playing already, of course. Portuguese national league is not one of the best in the world. So there he could play, still playing a good level, but was under pain and take so much time to recover after the training sessions and the game especially. So the whole staff, we have like a meeting and decide to take him from the matches, and we design like a block training for him for 2 weeks to increase his capacity, increase strength, increase power, all of the skills, physical capacities, qualities a volleyball player needs.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. I'm really proud about the decision of these guys there, because this is not so common in a professional.
It should be, but it's not really.
Yeah, but I think I know it's sometimes, of course, depending on the level, it's hard to do
It's
it.
getting better.
But it was great because they take off the guys from the matches. He was training way less, jumping less during the training, attack way less balls, They reduce the training load at the pitch, and they increase the training out of the pitch.
Yeah.
Because the guy is 37, 38 years old, top level. We're not going to teach them to play volleyball. They already know how to play volleyball. They even don't need to do that every day. If he's fit and health, he's going to do a good job.
Yes.
But if he's under pain, fatigue, he's not going to play. Because play he knows. Yeah. So it was magic, man, because it was like 2-3 weeks without this guy. I didn't see him jump serve like 150, 120 kilometers per hour. It was just like, technical a little bit. Sometimes 1 or 2 jump serve above 100. 2-3 weeks, this guy came back to the finals. I think it was 5 or 3 matches. I think 3 matches in Portugal. I don't remember. And this guy killed, man. He was on fire. It was really nice to see that because it was perfect, The physio agree about that, the doctor, the head coach, the strength and condition coach, everybody together. The guy did his job, he improved, and he reduced the level of pain. He'd have a time to, way less jump because he wasn't playing too much. Way has less attack. Yeah?
Exactly.
And he came back, I think it was a couple of days before the first match of the final. He started to progressively, I think it was 1 week before, and he started to progressively increase the training loads. Boom, 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 boom. The day of the match, he was like, fuck, man. Everybody saw. It was like, everybody was, oh, what's happened with this guy,
Is this the same man?
Yeah. Well, exactly. What he drink?
So, considering the preseason, the thing I think should be done is exposing players to play matches from the beginning of the preseason, because when the technical coach decides to start jumping, of course they do. Firstly, they do jumps with low intensity, but there are some times that they get a bit crazy with the amount of jumps in a week, maybe 3, 4, 5 in the preseason, and they're starting to setting up some obvious injuries. What I did in one of the clubs in Plus League when I was a substitution as a strength and conditioning coach was exposing to extensive plyometric variants, mainly to the ankle dominant, because the knee dominant variants for volleyball players, this deep position around 90 degrees knee angle bend in splits are killer. Then they hate it, they can't do it properly. This is the first thing, and they hate it because it fucking burns. It burns in the legs. So the reality of exposing extensive plyos for me was doing it maybe 2 to 3 times per week, and doing a few sets of 9 meters from the end line of the court to the net, just back and front with simple movement patterns. I don't have time to teach them. I just want to expose them to simple things so that they get ready for a bit more intense approach jumping when the technical coach says it is the time. Is it perfect? No, it's not. I think it's good enough. In the ideal world, I would also experiment with some intense plyometric variants in the preseason, because this is the only time that I can gain eventual adaptation. The in-season is for mainly maintaining the health and peaking twice a week. But the world is not ideal, as we know. And
here in Poland, how many weeks do we have in preseason?
Usually from 8 to 9, 9 to 10, something like that. Rarely more, rarely less. So it's like basically 2 months.
And they start the matches in Plus Legal how many weeks after start the season? Like when they
10 to 11 weeks.
So,
The league starts in 10 to 11 weeks.
Okay.
eventually.
Okay.
So you can't always be sure that the players did something during the off season that the strength and conditioning coach sent them just to maintain anything. You can't be ready for that. But I think you should always set up your work so that you trust that the players did what they had to do, and don't waste your time on just treating them like kids. You know?
I got it. Yeah, I think again, I believe that if you can control monitoring this, for example, talk about jumping.
Mm-hmm.
If you can monitor and control that, is way not, I'm gonna say easier, but is more safe, and you can be more assertive about, okay, maybe you should push a little bit more now. Maybe why not put some like you said, like a micro dose about plyometric exercise. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you be like to potentiate the neuromuscular capacity during the microcycle is. But again, you need to consider depend of the. We know some teams they have way more young athletes, health guys, so they have more capacity to handle these loads and recover fast. Some teams they have guys already professional for more than 20 years, so many injuries, surgeries, whatever. So sometimes it's hard to cover this topic as a plyometric during the microcycle. It's not so. It's much more about to keep this guy in this level without get worse physically, and be able to stay in the pitch.
I think the whole plyometric thing has got two main takeaway points. The first one is who's on your team, what is their belief system, what they used to work before, what they were exposed to in their previous levels of play, and the risk to reward ratio. Yeah. Do you just will it enhance something, or will it break something? And this is the point. This is the main question that you should ask yourself. Yes. So then you're the happy owner of the force decks. One of many. And can you elaborate a bit on what opportunities does the force deck give you in case of monitoring and testing the volleyball players, first of all in individual work, like the personal clients that you have here in bodywork, for example?
So basically here I'm using the force plates for, I guess, already 2 years and a half, something like that. The most valuable stuff in a force plate for me, for my daily basis, is the possibility to see the force trace, the force time, the force production through the time. And so this is really nice, and this can give you many insights about the movement strategy, the way you can handle forces. But basically, I'm using for monitoring fatigue. I have some athletes here. We do that before all of the sessions.
There was already one question. Do you do this before every session?
Before every session, of course I don't do that. I have some clients here. They are clients, ordinary people. I know non-professional athletes, so I don't use force plate with them. I use with the sport people, sport clients I have. So usually my protocol before the training is like some standardized warm-up. They know what they need to do. We do that for a couple of minutes. After we do the jump test, 3 counter movement jumps at least. It's pretty fast. And we start the training. In the beginning of the training, the like an open set exercise, they need to answer one wellness questionnaire, like a RTT questionnaire, readiness to train. So basically, this is the data I catch for them before the training. Yeah?
How much time does the whole procedure of testing as a monitoring tool before every session takes you? Is it like 3 minutes? Is it like 6 minutes?
It's less, because while my athlete is doing the warm up, I'm talking to them. If I don't have already the force plates ready to do the tests, the athlete doing what I told him to do, and I setting up the force plate on the ground. Couple of minutes. I spend like 3-4 minutes for everything. And in 30-40 seconds, we can do 3 jumps. It's like invisible assessment.
Yeah. So it doesn't steal you much of the precious time. It's
zero. It's not I don't need to. I'm not gonna lose time on my training session. I don't need to put more time on my training session because of that. I don't spend nothing. Of course, in the beginning, I was learning how to do that to
Yeah,
work. But
sure.
currently, I don't spend nothing more about, and the client, the athlete, don't lose time
Right.
with that.
So it's also kind of a hot question, and it's not that somebody is getting that really wrong, that you can't work with people if you don't have force split. You can't work with people if you don't have data. But how can you relate on how your work changed after you got the force split?
Okay, I got it. It's
And one more takeaway point for: do you think everyone should possess the force plate for working with athletes?
Okay. I'm gonna answer this first.
Mhm.
The thing is, you don't need that to work with athletes. Definitely not, because most of us, we are doing that for many years without that. Come on, but if you have that, if you have possibility to buy one, to rent one, whatever,
Mhm.
it can be really useful for you to understand a little bit more about the way your athlete are able to produce force in different type of scenarios, you know. So this can give you some tips for you about maybe what you should do the most, about the training plan, you know. And for monitoring fatigue for me is one of the best things, because this is really nice, because sometimes you can see, for example, I can show you after this, of course. We can see like the same outcome result, like a jump high, for example, the main metric of the test. You can see the results is pretty consistent. Sometimes don't change too much. But when you start to see other type of key metrics about performance,
Yeah.
for example, the braking phase duration, the eccentric duration, for the RSI, for example. So we start to see some like a huge difference when these athletes are under fatigue, you know, after tournament, after I don't know, hard microcycle, for example. And this can give you some tip, because if you just measure the jump high, you're not gonna see that, you know. When you see a really huge drop in the jump high, is because the athletes are already in the bottom of the capacity, you know. So and so sometimes, for example, I have the girl here. She's a professional football player, and it's a funny fact, because she had a break in what's the holiday we had? Easter, the previous holiday we had, and she had like I think 4 days off the training. She went to her home, the club, you know, no activities, no matches, nothing like that, and she came back. We did the test, and it was insane. His performance, I was expecting, okay, she's gonna come back here, she's gonna be even better, because have more time resting, something like that. And she's a type of athlete, if you start to put load, the performance drop significantly and quite fast, because it was 4 days. So 4 days she thought, Daniel didn't do nothing. It was like maybe walking around with family, something like that. And her performance dropped like I think it was something around 10 to 12% in the key metrics of the jump.
Yeah, it's
And this gives me something, you know, because some athletes, after 4 days resting, doing something without load, is enough time to then to recover, to you know, like some super compensation. Let's use this word. And but for other athletes, no. If you take off load, it's not so good. Some people need load. And I remember I had one friend. He was a volleyball player with me when we were 19 years old. He was type of guy, the strength and condition was always putting load to him, like heavy loads, like 90%. He loved to do like a back squat, like even 1/4, even a little bit less than that. And sometimes when you travel to some tournaments for 1 week without load, he even feel that, Daniel, I'm starting to feel a bit slowly. I start to feel I'm jumping less. So maybe he's also a type of profile of people, they need load. Yeah? They need to keep the neuromuscular system receiving at least a minimal dose to keep the level of performance.
Always stimulated.
So for example, if this girl from football, if I didn't have the first place, probably I'm not going to be able to see that. You know what I mean? Even if I use another system, I could see just the jump high, but I will not be able to see how fast it transferred the eccentric to concentric
Yeah.
phase. I couldn't see that. Yeah.
You get the insight of
So,
what's going
yes,
on.
we can see some stuffs.
Mhm.
You know.
So the thing that you mentioned is very interesting, that some people do better with all being always at least minimally stimulated, always getting some load, versus the people that behave their best, regenerate their best without having any load.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like responders versus non-responders to the isometric exercise. For example, in tendinopathy, I met some people that that were really relieved with the pain by yielding isometrics, and it's like scientifically proven to
exactly.
a certain point. But some people are not. The yielding isometric doesn't help in any way. Isometric overcoming doesn't help in any way. You're wondering why. I don't get the answer. I just try to do some other stuff, and the other stuff works.
Yes, we know in science we always have these outliers people, out of the Gauss curve, people will be really well responsive about some type of intervention. Other people is not going to respond well, So but the thing is, if you don't measure, you never know.
You don't know.
You never know. So somehow we talk about force plates, and I'm not working for none of these companies, and I don't have a sponsored for them. I don't make money with them
yet.
Maybe I don't. Who knows? But somehow, So I have some friends. They cannot have a force plate now, but they use other stuff. Simple device, reliable.
Also, processing the force plate is kind of the responsibility, because you have spent a lot more time analyzing this data, thinking about the training process, looking at this for traces, looking for meaningful, objective training purposes that are derived from the force trade. It takes you time. It takes your attention. So you probably not every client needs that. So you also have to redo your offer, your financial stuff, because when you got force plate, it's an investment.
Yes.
You've got to have a bit of return from that investment. So you probably will work with less people because it takes you more time, and so it will be a bit more expensive. So processing the force plate is a problem to solve a bit. It's not that easy. I'm just gonna buy a force plate.
No. Of course, because I worked with med jump, like some type of chrono jump in Brazil. Wasn't chrono jump because this was in 2010, 11, and we have a Brazilian company. I don't remember the name. They produce their own, and I really like that. Always was pretty interesting to measure something, to track, but most of the times I did that was to assess the guys, the athletes in the pre-season, the middle of the season, to see if they have some improvement, young athlete, and the end of the season. So never for monitoring stuff, So to give some feedback to staff during the season, never about that. But definitely, if you have conditions to use this type of device, come on, it can be. It's pretty practical. Of course, in the beginning was a challenge and still a challenge because I'm still learning about to understand the meaning of all of the metrics, the most important metrics. After the first 3-4 months, I started to almost overwhelming my mind because it was too much stuff, too much knowledge about that. And I met some guys well known in this topic, and especially from Vaud, and they started to teach me some stuff and to give me some advice about how to select the metrics, how to choose the right tests for each type of context, each type of sport. So this make my life way easier because I start to do a little bit less tests in some type of assessments. And to spend less time analyzing data, whose I don't need to spend too much time about that. So
more economic approach.
To be more specific as possible during the selection of the protocol for each type of profile.
So before we get to the actual test and test sensitivity to fatigue, I wanted to ask you about your opinion about do you think that using force plates will ever be a normal thing, a standard thing in a team sport? Because I know the national handball team with Konrad Szczukowski uses force plate from Hawkins.
Okay.
Some football teams are using force plates, but you can count it on the one hand. It's not popular. The clubs have money for buying this stuff,
sure.
but
For sure.
but it's not a standard to use this.
Yes, I think we need to consider is a type of devices get more popularized. I think this is the word. You know what I mean? In the last couple of years, before that was I remember the first and the only time I saw a force plate was in the university.
Yeah.
I never saw a sport team, something like that, using before. But now it's affordable. We have more options in the market. Yeah? And but I think is to be honest, not about the money because the clubs, I do that by myself. why a club don't have money for that? I'm not rich. I'm way far.
It's
far
monthly
way
wage
to
of
be.
one player.
Yeah, so it's a snack for them. Come on, it's like Jesus. And it's more about, I believe so, to how can I say, not education, but the culture of the club. Maybe the strength and condition of the people, the staff working that, they are not so into about this type of technology. But it's a matter of if I'm working on sport team today, I will talk to the people responsible to buy stuffs for the club and I try to explain them how this and other type of device can be useful for the athletes and for the coaches and especially volleyball team in Plus Liga and football team even Poland. This is nothing. It's nothing for them.
It's really nothing. And yet, not single of a team possesses this.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Maybe one day.
Maybe it's like
when you get into the Plus Liga, then you have one for sure.
You can take mine. I will measure everybody. For sure. No, I'm kidding about that.
So using force plate as a monitoring or daily readiness tool, what do you? Maybe we start with what tests do you select and what tests are most sensitive to the neuromuscular fatigue in case of testing the volleyball players? Okay,
this is a nice question. The most popular test in force plate for monitoring fatigue is the counter movement jump.
Hands on hips.
Hands on the hips without arms because it's more reliable to reproduce, to repeat this. If you use the arms, we never know about the range of motion, about how much power you're going to use with the arms. So if you're trying to measure the neuromuscular condition for the lower limbs, counter movement jump, hands on the hips is what the best practitioners and the science says recommend to use. It's not my opinion. We have a good background about that, and I'm using that. It's the one I use.
Okay.
The CMJ. Yeah?
So what do you look for in case of the physical metrics and the difference between the fresh state and the fatigue state, and which metrics do you care for? Okay.
Basically, I take a look. The first thing when I finish the test, I take a look in the force trace.
Just the graph.
The graphic. I take a look on that, even without seeing numbers, because I know in fresh condition, the baseline, I know how look like the shape of the force trace of my athlete. So just with that, after the test, like a monitoring test, I can see in the eccentric phase and concentric phase if something look like difference, if he spend a little bit more time in the eccentric, less time in the eccentric,
it's wider,
exactly, it's wider or not. So I can understand a little bit about what's happening about movement strategy. Yeah? So because the athletes are gonna, especially if they are already into the test, they already know what they need to do because they need to put 100% there. Yeah, it's like 3 repetitions, but they need to try to move as fast as they can and jump as high as possible. It was the cue. Yeah. Try to move down and up as fast as possible and try to jump as much as you can. So then they do that. They will try to jump as high as possible. But if they are under fatigue or if they have some super compensation, again, the result maybe don't change, but as we talk about, some metrics can change. I can achieve the same jump height, but moving a little bit different. Yeah? Maybe increase the range of motion, more increase the impulse during the concentric phase, for example, is one strategy.
It's my follow-up question. Do you have any kind of value regarding the constant outcome, but using different strategy? When do you start to care about the natural strategy?
I usually, because we ask me about the metrics, for example, I take a look in the RSI, eccentric braking phase.
And RSI in case of CMJ?
Exactly, the RSI modifier. So eccentric braking phase, eccentric duration. Of course, I take a look on the jumping high. And it's a nice feedback for the athlete. I like to show them because they want to know how much they jump.
Of course.
It's the only thing they want. They don't want to know my RSI. They don't. I want to know how much I jump. So it's nice. It's nice because the engagement. We'll talk about the engagement. This is good.
Exactly.
You know? That's cool. Oh, I'm improving, Daniel. And I need to explain. It's not exactly just improving. Oh, for example, I jumped 3-4 centimeters less today. Take it easy. It doesn't mean you're getting worse. Remember what you did yesterday, 2 days ago. I will talk about this training plan, now this phase. So it's normal. We're going to decrease a little bit, but after we're going to go a little bit higher.
Education.
So education, this is important. And but like as I said, like RSI modify, eccentric braking phase, eccentric duration.
You got like the percentage kind of cut-off values for them, or this is just your intuition?
No, in the Vault software we can see, it's pretty cool because we can see exactly after we finish the test. You can see the result of each one of these metric from the whole mesocycle, like 2 months in the test. So you can see in one graphic the variation of that. And I usually care when the value start to drop like 1, almost 2, maximum 2 standards deviation. Of the average.
Yes.
If still 1 standard deviation down, it's okay. I'm gonna follow my plan. If the plan
it does not fluctuate that much.
No, that's okay. It's happened. It's gonna change. It's almost impossible to keep all of the metrics in the same level. But when it start to like 1-2 sessions, close to 2 standard deviations less, and especially if it's not like if it's not off season, it's during the season. This athlete is going to perform the weekend, for example. We will do something different than we're planned. Something more for recovering, something to maybe still giving some stimulus, maybe for strength and power, but in one perspective is not going to produce even more damage, more fatigue.
All right. Yeah.
So this is a really quick feedback I can get that.
Of course. Do you ever test something like power repeatability test, like maybe 15 seconds for the repeated CMJ, like this power endurance stuff? Maybe it may. I don't know if it can be considered as a readiness tool, maybe as a fatigue monitoring in a 1 week, 2 week span. Did you ever use that?
I use that, but never for monitoring, to be honest. And I'm not gonna say it's wrong, but I never saw some substantial like research, something like that, to use that for monitoring. And also I like to do these neuromuscular tests. One of the reasons I really like to do this type of tests is exactly because these neuromuscular assessments is not going to promote fatigue. 3 jumps, 3 counter movement jumps, man.
Of course.
This is not going to make you feel tired more than, this is nothing for the body. Like the energy cost is really low, So it's one of the reasons I believe this is,
Do you think better, more fit players, the one that possesses higher technical levels, higher strength and conditioning experience, would have been better in these power repeated ability tests in case of jumping than the weaker ones? Or is it not that specific?
Yes, it's hard to say because I believe for example, if I run this test with someone have a really good score in the jump high, supposed to, maybe after 15, 12 jumps, not maybe, but I didn't do that for monitoring again. I'm guessing now, okay? I believe it's gonna drop substantially, maybe 20%, 30% the jump height between the first two to the last one. But if you have another type of athlete, maybe they don't jump so high, but they can have this fatigue index a little bit lower. Yeah, maybe they will then. So I believe it's a nice test just to see how much you're able to handle the forces, to handle the repetition of the jump.
Okay.
And give some cue about, okay, this athlete, when they need to perform a ballistic and powerful movement for a lower limb, he are able to do that over and over again, losing not so much capacity. Yeah, I think this can be, in my opinion, is the most valuable information you can get for this type of analysis. You know, it's not just about to see readiness. I don't know if this can be interesting for readiness, to be honest.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't. It's tricky. I'm thinking about, because I never read nothing about this test for readiness.
I don't think it's a popular test at all.
Yeah.
It may be, from the logical point of view, it should make sense for volleyball when you get this power, repeated power ability in spite of 3 to 5 sets. But is it worth measuring if you do it on the court already?
Yeah, but still, yeah, during the match, if you calculate the time, you know, because you have like one, let's see, 120 jumps in one whole match, like say one number, yeah. Can be less, can be a little bit more, depend of the position, depend of how much actions you had in the match. And but you're gonna do that for like 120, let's see, four sets. How long was this 120? How much time you took to do the 120? So this repeated jumps, like 20 jumps in less than 1 minute. It's okay. I know the counter movement jump is not something specific for volleyball players, like in a movement strategy. They don't do exactly.
Some of them they can't really execute it properly.
No.
It's as strange as it seems, but they really can't.
The squat jump is even worse.
Yeah.
The squat jump is this is hard.
I got some good videos of that.
This is hard. Squat jump.
Regarding the sensitivity of the test, both of the CMJ and, for example, the drop jump are very sensitive to fatigue because of the usage of the shortening cycle. But some of the metrics differ between the CMJ and the drop jump, which in my mind makes them sensitive to a bit different type of fatigue, because the impulse in the CMJ comes for a longer time and the lower peak force, and impulse for the drop jump comes with the much higher peak force and time to peak force and much shorter ground contact time. So what is your opinion? Why do you use CMJ in opposing to the drop jump as a monitoring tool? And would you be able to change your mind on that topic?
Okay, the drop jump is, of course, is really. I never use it. I'm gonna tell here. I never use drop jump for monitoring fatigue. But if you're thinking about more capacity for the tendon recall, I think this is the
fastest.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely one of the best strategies to do it. Yeah? But again, when I talk about like a neuromuscular status, the readiness, the CMJ, as you said, you have like a slow stress shortness cycle system, being more responsible for the movement. I believe can be more sensitive for that. Yeah, if, for example, if you are under fatigue, for example, if we were talking also about the blood maker for like as a creatine kinase, something like that. Yeah. If you have more damage in the neuromuscular system, I believe it's gonna be more sensitive to see that, due to the fact it's a type of test. The neuromuscular capacity, the muscle, the neuromuscular system is more responsible for the task. And instead the drop jump,
Okay, so it makes sense that the CMJ, due to being slower and having more time, makes more usage of the neuromuscular capacity system, and the elastic driven task, make less use of it because of the time constraint. Just more mechanical and tendon stiffness type of thing.
Yes, and also
different RFDs.
Yes, and exactly, definitely is way different. Yeah, the drop jumps you need to handle the is a high peak length and produce this quick fast force production under the ground. Yeah, to apply the jump. But to be honest, it's a really good question because good thought, because I never saw some of the guys, and especially researchers, are deeply studying neuromuscular fatigue and readiness, this type of stuff. I never saw they talk about drop jump for that. Maybe I missed something, but I believe for this, to see this reactiveness, maybe the contact time, for example, like a simple metric, standardize one high of the box and see if the guy can keep, for example, even the RSI. You can also use the RSI as a metric and see if the athlete is still able to be reactive in a good level. During the week, I never did that. It's a good thing. Maybe we should start to
We should start
to do that. To see what's happening, you know. And but still, I don't believe like a 3 drop jumps is gonna kill.
Yeah, the same thing.
Someone, you know, like it's gonna damage you. Of course, if some athlete already doing that in the training plan or in a good level of physical capacity, is
sure.
not.
So I think it's a bit different between measuring the task as a mean of the monitoring tool and measuring a task as a mean of seeing the performance enhancement, because there's always a spectrum of these plyometric exercises, and due to the fact that volleyball, in case of the jump ground contact times, is kind of a slow, more slow sport, but that doesn't discredit the intensive, fast SSC plyometrics as being a really valuable tool for improving this jump contact times.
For sure.
Still having in mind that the volleyball players are usually very weak in these repeated fast stretch shooting cycle contacts, the ones that you have to jump high but with a really quick like
below like 200
and
250 milliseconds.
It's not that natural, they're really weak in that. And I think if a player expresses good slow strategy and a weak fast strategy, I want the good player to express not equally, it will always be a difference, but good both strategies.
No, I have some people, I did some tests with the guys, and they in a counter movement jump, like without arms, they jump like less than 50 centimeters. It's quite below than if you take a look at the normative data, like a benchmarks for jump high. But when they have like approaching phase, my God, they jump like almost 1 meter. So, you know, the capacity, the coordination of the movement, the ability to produce force using more and more movement strategy.
This approach jump in my mind is always a mixture of slow and fast SSC. I doing my own research in case of gaining the contact times of the full approach jump and making a distinction. Is it a more slow SSC muscle driven based movement, or is it a fast SSC more elastic driven movement? I tend to lean more towards the slow side at first, because some of my data resulted from 5 to 30% difference between the contact time of the CMJ and contact time for the approach jump. 20-30% is hell of a lot.
Okay, it's a lot. Definitely. It's
a lot. And the fastest approach jump contact times from this research, and they were the same professional guys from the third and a few from the second division. The fastest ones was like the 230 milliseconds. They were the fastest, and the slowest were around 140, 150 milliseconds. So it's almost like CMJ.
I know I did a couple of times here, but myself, like my own research, and especially in the beginning, I was playing different stuff with the force plate. It was quite hard in the beginning to set that, but I was doing like the approaching jump on the force plate.
Yeah, I was wondering about it. If you reduce the difference between the ground and the force plate, but it's very hard to land on.
It was okay. I was jumping vertically and landing on top of the plate. It was more about to set the the right distance to do the approaching phase and step exactly on the plate, and don't step out, don't step, something like that. And but I would like to do something. I think this can be interesting as a research perspective. If you could track also the velocity of the approaching phase, how much fast you can, this person's approaching to do the jump.
All right, but you want to have the velocity of the center of mass at the last step, or the whole acceleration of every step?
I think if you have the whole step, you can even understand about the profile of the athlete, because I know some athletes they develop speed. You have this experience with the volleyball players. Some of the guys, first step they don't go fast, but the last penultimate step they explode and they can
I was wondering, would the GPS measure any initial acceleration
I think
in case of jumping?
Yeah, I think I need to check, but I think the vert, the belt, they measure that
velocity, but
because
not
they
in the
measure
standard package.
Yeah,
you would have to have license. The standard package only covers the jump height and the jump count.
No, but
I think so.
Because I have the
velocity.
Maybe I'm paying for the license and I don't know. So because I saw some kinetic metrics, but
there are some kinetic metrics.
But
there are some kinetic metrics, but I only thing I know that they are in regards to landing force.
Okay,
that's for sure.
Okay,
I don't know what's more.
Okay, I need to check that because I think this could be interesting. But anyway, you talk about the approaching phase during the jump. Of course, this is the most important jump for them. They need to handle that.
Of course. Staying for a bit more in this scheme of CMJ and the approach jump, I observe a lack of transfer at some point, and what I mean by that is that you can improve on CMJ to a certain point, and then you can't expect your approach jump to be better, and the opposite. My best CMJ was around 62, I think, but this was not the moment I had the best approach jump in my life. And I think there are two reasons for that. First one is they are totally biomechanically different. There's no discussion that there are specific to some point to each other, just as the general movement and the specific movement, but there's a big discrepancy in the time of producing force, in the biomechanics, in converting this horizontal to vertical momentum, the skill itself of approach jumping, the rhythm and initial speed and feeling the skill. While you can be forceful guy, express the power and have a good CMJ, this doesn't require almost any skill,
of course,
to jump high from the place. But what I see is the same strategies that you see in the CMJ. Is someone a muscle more slow SSC driven, or is someone more elastic, fast SSC driven? The strategy that you see in CMJ really well corresponds to the strategy that you see in approach jump. Even though they are mechanically different, the express strategy and using your strong size, physical size, is kind of the same between two different movement patterns.
No, definitely.
That's what I find very interesting.
Again, if you it's not because we improve like a 5-10% in the CMJ, you cannot expect you're gonna improve exactly the same in the approaching jump. But this is true because I run at many counter movement jumps, and also I know the guys performing in their sports. And usually the guys have the less counter movement jump depth, like less engagement on the hips and the knees. When you see these people perform some type of jump in their sport, they use pretty similar movement strategy, like about the amount of range of motion they produce during especially the eccentric phase. It's pretty similar with the counter movement jump. Even if you squat jump, drop jump, approaching jump, whatever, it's quite similar. So it's
maybe it's just the mother for the neuromuscular system. How do I get the highest possible output by a most economical strategy? It would be it is logical at its own sake, but when you consider, as I mentioned, two really different biomechanical movement patterns, it is not that logical. But it happens still.
But it happens. Of course. I think about also we need to consider
sorry for interrupting. If you would fit two very similar mechanical movement patterns, maybe like I don't know, something, two patterns of jumping in place, two patterns of jumping forward. Okay, but these two are by no means similar actually.
Mm-hmm. And I can see some difference when you take a look in people with completely different body types when you assess the jumps. Like guys that are really more elastic. Yeah, they don't need too much range of motion. They don't need to produce too much impulse. Yeah, to generate momentum and jump higher. And most of the tasks, like we were talking about that, they use that because it's the best strategy for them be able to produce force. They don't need to spend too much time under the ground to jump high or to accelerate, to sprint, something like that. Yeah? So I think the body type and the movement strategy, of course, if you can track that somehow. Again, can give you some tips, and
of course
you can get some insights about for the training plan, for the orientation of the training plan. And,
So as I see it, as it is for me, the elastic jumping athletes, to see this elastic jumping strategy as well from jumping in place as well as jumping from approach is more difficult to see than this muscular guy. It's not as often seen. It's more rare. I think it's a bit more difficult to possess this strategy because of the characteristics of the team sport. Team sports are, even though they look fast, they are really not that fast when you compare it to the track and field.
Definitely.
They are really elastic, these fascia-driven athletes. They got real time constraints. So team sport are really not that fast as we consider them to be. So I think this is the main reason why most team sport athletes from football, from basketball, from volleyball perform exceptionally well in the slower, this like longer impulse strategy, in opposed to shorter ground contact times, more like fast SSC, RSI based type task, because it's not that natural strategy to use for them.
At least
it's not that you shouldn't use it. Maybe the ratio changes.
Exactly. Yeah? It doesn't mean. But the most elastic guys I assess with force plate are the guys when they need to perform what they need to do at the sport. They usually is the guys can be really reactive, quick to change direction, to sprint, to develop power. Doesn't mean they are faster and the guys that jump the most, but they do that quickly. They have a good level of quickness to produce the movement faster. And when you see these guys perform the jump, they usually engage really, really low movement on the knee and the hips. It's really, the girl I was talking about with you here, the football player, she's not the fastest. She's not the sprinter football player. She play in the middle field, but she run a lot. She's quite fast in the sprint. And when she perform a counter movement jump, we don't remember exactly the number, but it's like the counter movement depth is like 26 centimeters, something like that.
Shallow.
So it's shallow. It's a really short range of motion. Even if I ask, hey, try to go deeper. No, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because and I guess
it's weird for her.
No, it's weird because this is not the type of, especially because you ask for they perform the best they can during the test. So to perform the best, The athlete's gonna choose the type of movement strategy they know how much they are able to produce a good amount of power. Yeah? So
Exactly.
So, but some other guys, like heavy guys, big guys, usually dips in the counter movement jump, they go deeper. Yeah, it's way more impulse and more time applying force. But again, doesn't mean they cannot achieve a good.
Of course, right.
It's a different movement strategy, different way to produce force. Yeah?
So before we go to the next question regarding the specific metrics for two different phenotypes of athletes, what's your opinion on programming basing on the test results? What I mean by that, if you got athlete that you see has particular strong sides and the weak sides, no matter what these sides are, just you see what's weak and you see what is proportionally much stronger from the physical side. Do you spend more of the training time making these stronger sides even stronger, or do you spend a little bit more time on developing the weaker sides and just maintaining the strong ones? I myself testing this approach for a few months, that I lean more towards working a bit more on the athlete's weaknesses. For most of the time, not always, but for most of the time, it yields results, but not for everyone. I got some people that I push them in what they're already good at, and this gives me more results than pushing the weaker side.
I think this can be tricky, man. There's
no skin, there's no rule for that, you know?
This can be tricky because I think once we need to consider some things. Who is this athlete? What the level they are? Yeah. If we talk about like some world-class athlete, I don't know if it makes too much sense to try to, especially if it's like during the season, of course, to try to push too much for the weakness or try to change some movement pattern or some type of strategies they choose to produce force, because maybe it can produce some reverse result, not a better outcome. But if you have a time to during one off season, something like that, maybe you can try to put more emphasis in some weak points. But this is complicated.
So for the individual work that I do with some people that are in pre-season or off-season, not in season, the most practical example that I can give, if I lean towards a weaker side of an athlete, and that particular weaker side is, for example, this fast SSC repeated contacts with RSI. If, for example, I program 3 plyometric exercises for one session, I do 2 fast SSC plyometrics and 1 slow SSC. Maintain the strong, enhance the weak. This is that's my take. I do it maybe in 75% of the people, like 3-4 ratio. I try this approach. Usually it helps, not always, but like the ratio is positive so far.
Okay, of course. Yeah, but again, if you are tracking that, you're catching some data through the process, you can understand which kind of individuals is going to be more responsive about this intervention. If after some training cycle you start to see the stuff's not getting better as we wish, you need to adapt. You need to change something. For example, during the neuromuscular assessment, it's pretty popular, the dynamic strength index. You could do like one isometric test, one ballistic test, and I don't like to follow exactly, it's like a religion. If I see like some metrics,
black and white,
check black and white, and showing that okay, this guy maybe he need a little bit more ballistic stimulus or contrast training, concurrent training, like both sides, like more power and more strength, or they need more strength than power, doesn't mean I'm gonna just focus on that. Like you said, you use the ratio 3-2 with your athletes, and but this ratio, the DSI can give some tip about you. Maybe you should, okay, this guy have this amount of force he can or she can produce. But when I take a look on the amount of force, the peak force they produce in the ballistic test, I can see some gap. This person, this athlete is not producing the same amount of force I know this athlete can produce in an isometric way during the ballistic test. So maybe let's analyze a little bit more. Sometimes it's a matter of technique. Maybe they don't have a good coordination about to perform the test. Maybe they don't never perform the counter movement jump before. You know what I mean? So I had some athletes here. They start to do counter movement jump for the first time with me. So before even I put this person on top of the plate, we spent like 2 weeks at least doing counter movement jump during the training. You know, I was teaching them how to perform the jump. So once I'm sure this person already understand how to perform that, choose a good movement strategy, how deep is better for them to perform this jump, we start to do the test. Because otherwise we start to see some dirt data, we start to see some results, but doesn't reflect the reality. So but once you are sure this person can perform in a good way,
exactly,
so you can start to see this like a dynamic strength index, and I'm using that for 2 years, and I never used that before, this metric. And use that to understand which kind of direction I choose, put more emphasis during the training plan, and there's really interesting results. I can see when I start to run the test over and over again, and also some feedback from them at the pitch, even like a GPS data, distance covered during the match. You can start to see in a neuromuscular perspective some improvement,
Yeah. So you perfectly led us to my, which I consider my next question, and you partially answered it. Is a DSI a useful test for you to consider, and which tests are not a substitution but an addition to elaborate on the DSI score?
Okay.
The DSI in itself is not enough, but how can you appreciate the DSI score by doing something different? And what do you do to...
Before I used the DSI, I was using the eccentric utilization ratio, the EUR.
EUR,
So because I didn't have like a capacity to measure the isometric test, so I was doing the force. So it was a squat jump and counter movement jump. We can do that with camera, even like a my jump, you can do that if you want. So this can give some tip about how much the difference between one test is pure concentric, so you cannot use the stress shortness cycle, and you put the same framework on test where you can use some slow stress shortness cycle. So you can give some information about you, which kind of, not preference, but which kind of task this person can perform better. So as I remember, I don't use this score for a while, but I think something around 20% the expectation. We expect the counter movement jump will be better than the squat jump. So if you have like a score below that, this can give some tips about maybe this person need a little bit more emphasis in the plyometric exercises. If it happened the opposite, more than 20% for the counter movement jump, something like that, maybe you should dedicate a little bit more time for strength training.
Maybe.
So
but it's not black and white.
It's not black and white, man. Definitely not. Because
can't use it as a standalone test.
No.
Maybe I think the really two or three repeatable, reliable tests are needed to really appreciate the athlete's phenotype. I would go for the DSI. I would go for contact times of the CMJ, and maybe a pro jump, but for the pro jump you would have to get opto jump, and if you got the force trace and some metrics in respect to time, I think you win the case in that one. But two to three tests are necessary in my mind to have full agreement on what's the strong physical side and what is not. And the most, to me, still the most important is your physical eye. How do you see the movement and how this movement coordinates in space? Sometimes it's more valuable info that just the metric.
For me, one of the most important things before we start to get into this test selection, you need to be sure the athlete knows how to do all of these tests.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They need to know. They need to be used to do that, to perform that during the training. And after, okay, let's run tests, because otherwise you're gonna start to, okay, this guy never do this type of test. Coming here, we're gonna perform this amount of tests, and I'm gonna run like a training program for 8 weeks, whatever. And after, okay, he's gonna perform a counter movement jump and drop jump during the test, or some isometric exercise. When you finish to perform the 8 weeks training plan, supposed to the athlete improve it, but how much was do it just for the training and how much was for the amount of repetition they performed to the movement of the tests. You know what I mean? So
yes.
They did hundreds of counter movement jumps, many sets of overcoming isometrics. So they get better to perform that. Yeah. As everything, if you do more, you repeat, you're gonna develop skills, about that, not just physical skills, but
I think I developed a quite easy. No, I can't say it's easy. It comes with a lot of practice, but the more you see, the more easier it is to see certain jump strategies regarding to just seeing it one-to-one work or video, and develop the practical scheme if you don't have access to measuring something. The full battery of jumping tests for me is a good way to classify more or less which type of phenotype is an athlete. I always, for the online work, wanna see the NCMJ, CMJ, maybe Abalaco, but not always. I don't like it, to be honest. Okay. I wanna see the drop jump into strategies. Okay. I always coach to record me the jump as high as you can and jump high but as fast as you can, and the same in regards to the hop test. Tempoga jumps in place. Oh, great. Jump as high as you can with no regards to time, and try to jump high but as quick as possible. Yep. When you got these scores, when you got these videos and you see how this movement fits in the in their coordination, how this movement looks physical in space, and you see the leverages that they use, how the torso incline is in relation to the shins, how much shin angle is there, how much knee bend, how much hip flexion, how much arm drag there is. You now have the quite clear picture of what phenotype you can expect from this person, and I think it's kind of reliable because you can't really cheat the thing that you see.
Oh yes, definitely. I think also when talk about phenotype, just sometimes just for the body type you can have some cue about.
Usually
So
the like
body,
this wider
the body type
ISA narrow ISA guys.
Body type give a lot
shorter but more bulky, usually more concentric. This muscle base.
The morphology of the body give a lot of information. I to be honest, I miss that sometimes because when I was working in Brazil and also in the university, I was in the lab for like a physiology lab, like as a student, and we did so many assessments for body type and morphology stuff, and this when you put this data from body type stuff, anthropometric metrics, this is I think this is the right term, and you put together in the framework and put like some neuromuscular tests, and you can start to see some pretty high correlation about, so profile, so these guys with this type of profiles, with this type of results in the neuromuscular tests, they usually match, of course have exceptions, but usually match, and for sure.
You know what's worse? The people that are in between, they express both good the slow and the fast strategies. And I try to simplify things and lean more towards all the concurrent training, give them a bit of both. What's your take on that?
I think the concurrent training is a good strategy for this type of people. And but again, since I start to have a little bit more access to technology, even like a VBT training, something like that, you can start to be more quickly change your ideas about the training plan, because you can see what's going on after each micro, meso, and macro cycle of the training. And but yeah, I think this for sure is the hardest type of athletes to work in, because
I consider myself being a bit in between. I hate myself.
Okay,
I hate myself from the physical side.
Yeah, man. I'm for me, I play volleyball, but thinking about neuromuscular capacity, I'm not good enough to be a volleyball player, you know. Really, I did some tests when I was even still in Brazil, and some physiologists, they said about the type of the muscle fiber types, whatever,
morphology.
They said I could be, and I was a swimmer when I was younger, and they said, like, Daniel, if you choose to be a swimmer when we were young, I believe you could have more chance, like in some type of I forgot the name now, but above 400 meters, you know, like not long distance, but like middle distance for swimmers.
Right. Got it.
Maybe for a runner, because the physiological perspectives can be similar stuff.
Do you regret not
But
swimming?
I don't like to run, so but no, I don't regret, because I like sport teams, you know. I like cooperation, I like working group, and individual sports I love to watch. I admire the people do it in a high level. Oh my god! But to do that is not for me.
Got it. Yeah. And the last and most important question. I was waiting for like 2 months to ask you this. I wanted to.
Really?
I gonna try it myself tomorrow.
Oh, damn it.
But I want to hear the concrete answers.
Okay.
For each of jump strategy, the muscle-driven guy and the elastic-driven guy.
Okay.
What are the physical metrics that the force plate can give you that you know differ between these two?
Okay.
For example, what is going on with regards to impulse for the muscle versus elastic-driven? What is going on with maybe time to peak force, or the peak force itself in the muscle-driven versus elastic-driven guys?
Okay. Usually the elastic, we can see tomorrow. I'm gonna show you the force trace, and I have some data with the good guys from both profiles. Good jump high from both of them. But when you talk about the elastic, a type of athletes, more reactive, really fast guys, you usually see a really narrow time force production during the eccentric phase. They're because the range of motion is pretty short, they don't go deeper, of course, so it's less time applying force under the plate.
Got it.
And you see a high peak force in the eccentric phase. The eccentric peak force.
High peak force
is high. It's high. It's really high. It's like a huge drop in the beginning of the eccentric phase, and a really sharp line up in the braking phase to the peak of the eccentric phase.
So these elastic guys decelerate really
well, and they spend a really short time during the transition between eccentric and concentric phase. So the braking phase duration is pretty low, like something like below or next to 200 milliseconds. So it's really, really fast.
Still talking about CMJ all the time.
Okay. Yeah, and you see like a huge. Quite huge, significant drop during the concentric phase. So they produce way more force in the eccentric phase than in concentric. The peak force. This can be sometimes hard to explain without show.
Okay.
The chart, but it's like that, like a flat line, drop and boom, and go to the sky, sharp line. And in the concentric phase, they still applying force on the ground to take off. Yeah. But it's just going down, and for the counter movement.
So this concentric is more steep than in these muscle-driven athletes.
It's but when you take the guys like big guys, muscle. So when you take a look on the force trace for the fast guys, the more reactive guys, is basically like that. The eccentric phase is really narrow. force trace at the part of the jump in the eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp line going up, high peak force, and after in the concentric start to drop, comparing with the peak force of the eccentric phase.
So the time to peak force also should be
Time to
lower
peak
for
force,
them.
yeah, time to peak force is lower, and also the time to take off is lower. So basically, they produce a high amount of force. They produce movement in less time.
Mm-hmm. One question: the time to take off is being measured from onset of applying the eccentric force to the platform, the start of the whole movement to the takeoff.
Yeah, exactly. When they start the movement, the plate is really sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Like a really short amount of force you apply, they can get that. Yeah? So before jump, we usually ask for the protection, the athlete to hold without
Quiet
movement.
phase.
Quiet phase, 3 seconds at least, and they need to try to start as fast as they can, yeah, of course. And when they start the movement, the force plate can catch that, the software catch that, and they can calculate all of the metrics through the jump. When they land, also stop a little bit, flat line, they stand up, and they catch all of the data. And for the like muscle guys, big guys, usually heavy guys,
Big blocks.
big blocks. So these guys usually they need more time to produce force. Yeah. So usually when you see the force trace for these guys, is a long, like a sharp, wide force trace. Way more time in the eccentric phase because usually they go deeper. Yeah, so the range of motion, the CMJ depth is bigger. They have like a not so sharp line for the eccentric. Yeah, it's like a big. How can I say that? Like a bucket in the eccentric phase.
Like the U-ladder.
Yes, exactly. And they charge, they are just putting force on the ground until reach the peak force during the eccentric phase. And usually after these guys, they have like a drop, and they create like a drop in the eccentric. But after milliseconds, they start to push the ground during the concentric, and they have like a second leg, like a M, like one M.
Okay.
It's pretty typical because they are really strong for concentric force. Yeah.
Okay.
So they usually have this capacity to apply sometimes even more force in the eccentric phase during the jump. So
the braking peak force will be slightly lower than in this elastic.
It's lower. Comparing with the elastic guys is way lower. But it's tricky because it's important to take a look in these metrics relatively with the body weight. Yeah.
Because, net values.
Exactly. Because if you put just the net values, probably can be higher for these heavy guys because they are heavy. Yeah? So just the fact that they have like, I don't know, 150 kilos, take like American football players, is more weight on top of the plate. So the brutal value is going to be higher. Yeah? So, but when you put these values through the relatively to the body weight, so you can see something more sharp. Yeah.
Is the impulse metric distinguished only between phases? This means you got eccentric impulse and the concentric impulse, or do you possess the metric for impulse regarding the whole movement duration? Do you get that?
Yeah, I usually take.
I know there's for eccentric and concentric, but is there an impulse for total movement?
This I have the metrics from Vaud. They divide in eccentric and concentric.
Okay.
So it's eccentric impulse, newtons per second, and concentric impulse, newtons per second. Usually it's the metric I take a look because impulse drives momentum, so it's an important metric for us to understand how much force you can produce in this amount of time. For me is when I take a look in profiling, and of course if someone already know how to do the test and doing the test is a type of metric I consider the most because is not a ratio, is not nothing like that. It's pure, it's clear metric. It's literally the amount of force I can produce during this time, during this phase of the jump, for example.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, this eccentric and concentric impulse will differ between these two movement strategies and two phenotypes.
Definitely. Usually when you take a look in the impulse, for the elastic guys, in the eccentric is higher than the concentric phase. Usually.
And it's the opposite for the muscular guys.
Opposite for the muscular guys usually. Yeah. When you compare the impulses, but also it's not a rule. Yeah, I never saw nothing about if you have some like a tendency, like a strong data about that, but usually because
like there's no actual point
like
of reference for this metrics.
Yes,
it's most of empirical evidence.
Yes, also in the I'm trying to remember now about the benchmarks, the normative data. I think we have in a couple of tests something about eccentric impulse, deceleration impulse. They have this metric, but in the normative data, they, as I remember, maybe from another company or some research talk about that, but I never saw. They have some normative data benchmarks for impulse, but impulse for me, especially if you work with some type of sports, have contact, like where the body type, the body weight matters, like fighters, like have a tackles, like football, American football, something like that. I believe this can be meaningful, because you need to consider the body type, the body weight matter to perform. You're gonna have a contact. Yeah? So if you have access to this type of metric where you literally talk about the amount of force you can produce in one specific amount of time, and you understand now you have access about the for example, I'm gonna go a little bit further now about the tactical context of this athlete, the style, the type of strategy they usually use in the pitch. I believe you can start to make some correlations about that. Amazing.
So dig into.
Yeah, but
last thing. How much of your approach is dictated by evidence and how much is by your intuition and experience? I know that people will argue about it, but I don't give a fuck. I just want to know your thought.
This is hard, and I liked because I came from the academy. I came from the university. I work in 2 different research labs. Not exactly with sports science, but with more about health promotion stuffs. But so we are really into evidence-based medicine. I think in English we say like that.
Yeah.
We call medicina baseada em evidência in Portuguese. And, I really like this approach, because some people I think misunderstood make some misunderstanding about that. It's not about just to prescribe stuff based on science, but to consider the individual we're working with, to understand they are human, they have different values, different beliefs, different needs, and you respect that. But of course, I use science to help you, and your own expertise. You're gonna build that through the years working. Yeah? So I think this 3 3 topics, 3 factors can be useful, and I try to use. I don't use always, because sometimes, depending on the context, it's quite hard to implement some deep science and about interventions. But I try to use that as much as I can, But especially when I'm doing something with athletes or people, some helping them during some rehabilitation process, I try to respect more this concept. Because the expectation and the need for the client, for the patient, is completely different than someone is doing exercise just to keep the health, to keep the promotion, to promote health. Yeah, they don't need something to happen the next week or the next 2 weeks or next month. Yeah, it's different than the athlete who
of course,
playing tournaments and competitions in high level, or someone passing through some some ACL rehab. So and it's safe. It's safe then to do something just because I believe or I hear someone talking about. I try to. I think now it's pretty hard because all the time you turn on the phone, you can see tons of different informations and new methods and new novel stuff, you know. So
it's easy to get lost.
Yeah, so you got lost. So I think we need to be careful. We need to have some filters, you know.
Yeah, the more knowledge you have, the greater your filter skill is.
I think this is the most important thing, especially for new trainers to understand how to learn how to select a good content, a good material to use that and try to build their knowledge. Otherwise, you got lost, and because it's too much information, I start to work. We didn't have that. Yeah, we have just books, have some seminars, conference, this stuff, something like that. But now it's can be tricky, you know.
Fully agree.
Yeah. So.
And it's the perfect ending sentence. Thank you, Dan, for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you for
really
taking me as a guest and Bodywork. I hope this will be the last.
No, that's awesome. I'm really happy about Bodywork. Open the doors for us here. It's amazing. I'd like to say thank you for them, all of them, the managers, and it's pretty good. And tomorrow we have like a training session here. Man.
Oh, it will be an amazing training session.
We're gonna do
in regards to upper body, bodybuilding stuff.
Let's do that.
Thank you once again, Dan.
So
Hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon. Take care. Thank you, guys.
Jeśli materiał w jakikolwiek sposób Ci pomógł i odnalazłeś w nim wartość, udostępnij go proszę w mediach społecznościowych, żeby mógł też pomóc innym osobom. Możesz też zostawić komentarz wraz z oceną na Spotify bądź Apple Podcast. Więcej treści znajdziesz na moim Instagramie oraz kanale YouTube Projekt Atletyczni. Do usłyszenia.